Have you ever been jet lagged? Chloe has, and today she talks about methylene blue. Have you seen this? It's a really cool color, my favorite color. Does it help you with jet lag? Find out today on the host only edition of the Decision Lab. See you on the inside. Welcome back to the Decision Lab, peeps. Today is host only with Chloe and I. We're pumped. We got lots to talk about. We are talking about Chloe's personal journey with jet lag. Just got back, and something called methylene blue, which is my favorite color and is actually kind of a wild looking thing. I hope you have something to show people.
I do.
We're talking about digital psychedelics, which will be crazy, and then the return of diet culture and skinny influencers. Oh boy, let's get into this. First of all, welcome home.
Thank you. I'm back in Canada now. Feels really good to be home after 6 months on the road.
Yeah, give a highlight reel of where you, the few places you've been over the last 6 months. It's crazy.
Yeah, so I started off actually in Kansas City visiting you, Cody, and my team, and then
Let's go.
went to Peru, Argentina, Uruguay, Brazil, Colombia, Chile, and then from Colombia I went to Germany. And then I've been in Germany, Cologne, Berlin, and then the Netherlands, Amsterdam, Den Haag, and after the Netherlands, where it is like Paris. And I finished off in Paris and came home. So it's been a lot of travel.
Boom.
So much travel. Boom.
How many countries you been to total now?
42.
42. How many are there on Earth?
100 and something. I can't remember the
It's
exact
wild
number.
that there's only that many countries, to be honest. You just feel like there'd be so many, but I
Hold
guess
on.
not.
Like 120 or something?
That was like 140 something.
Or like 160. Bear with me, I'm jet lagged. I was up for a long time. We're gonna ask ChatGPT.
All right, deal. Jet lag. What time did you get back again last night?
So
Yesterday?
only 2 p.m. Canada time. There are 195 countries. Oh, more than I thought. Okay.
There we go. All right, well, 150
I've
more to
got a
go.
lot to do. A lot to do still. Yeah. So yesterday I got back at 2 p.m. Forced myself to stay up. So I went to bed at 11:12, which is technically 8 a.m. Paris time. So basically I was up for 24 hours. And
Sweet baby Jesus.
oh, it's so hard on your body. I thought I was getting the flu last night. Like, just forced myself to stay up, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I travel a lot, so like jet lag something that's completely like normal and I'm used to. But for some reason on the flight yesterday, I don't know what it was. I just felt so inflamed, so uncomfortable, and I got home and the inflammation got worse. I was just like, it's awful.
When you say inflammation, what do you mean by that? How would you know?
How do I know I'm inflamed? For me, I get really bad like achy joint pain. So like I feel like my back's achy, my shoulders are achy, my hands. So that's how I know I'm inflamed. Then you get the flu or something and you just like everything aches. I
Yeah.
get that sometimes without flu symptoms. That's how I know, oh, I'm inflamed. Another thing is like waking up really puffy. So if you're carrying like a lot of water retention in your face, that's signs of inflammation.
Got it. Damn. All right, but you're a chemical engineer, so what are you doing to fix jet lag?
Yes. So what you do is very, very important, right? Step one is start regulating your circadian rhythm. So I force myself to stay awake, to reset my clock really quickly. And then I actually woke up naturally at like kind of 5, but then got out of bed around 6. And so the first thing you want to do wherever you are is view bright sunlight, because that will help set your circadian rhythm. And then I really like, movement, like going for walks, exercising. Today I was way too inflamed to exercise, but if you're not, like going to the gym in the morning and just getting that stimulation and reset is really, really helpful. And then you want to be prioritizing anti-inflammatories, taking like omega-3s, eating anti-inflammatory food or staying away from food that causes inflammation, because this whole process is very inflammatory. So obviously like staying away from like alcohol if you can for a few days, deep fried foods, things like that. And then eating foods that are really, really high in antioxidants.
Yeah, like you should do that in general, like not just
You should do that
after
in
jet lag.
general.
You should just do that always.
Yeah, you should do that always, but there's certain times in your life where you're like, this is actually like a really important time to do this. And if you're wanting to bounce back quickly from jet lag, this is what you do. And then so right now and forever, I'm a like coffee lover and drinker, but it's not good for my nervous system. And so I'm like really, really working on giving up caffeine and using it as an emergency only tool. And so for me, it was hard this morning not having coffee, but I was unpacking and my mom had brought all these supplements for me, and I found methylene blue and deer antler, all these things that increase energy without caffeine.
Hey, let's go.
And the methylene blue and the deer antler, I was like this morning because I hadn't taken it since I left. I didn't pack it with me because I was just worried it would spill all over my suitcase. But I had so much energy after taking it this morning. I was like, whoa, I forgot how well this stuff can work for me.
That's wild. I forgot. I mean, I've only seen you talk about it or whatever. I've never actually tried methylene blue myself. What is methylene blue?
So methylene blue is actually a dye. So it's what they use to stain cell cultures and like cellular biology. When you look through a microscope, it's actually been used as an anti-malarial as well. I don't understand how they figured this out, but it's helpful for boosting metabolism and it can be neuroprotective, but the research is still really young on this.
Yeah, it is pretty young, but it looks like it pulls up reactive oxygen species, so it helps decrease inflammation by going and eating up all of this different oxidative damage, this inflammation that you're describing.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that it looks like it can, there's a couple things. It can literally cross the blood-brain barrier. So that's freaking crazy. And it, as far as like why you probably feel so energized, is early studies show that it can enhance memory retention by increasing an oxidase activity and it's like ATP production. So like the electron transportation, all the stuff, oxidative phosphorylation, all the things that create ATP, it can like interject itself into that process essentially and help produce more energy for your cells, which is kind of wild. I haven't seen that. Early studies on animals and limited human research, but nonetheless, it's there. So that's interesting. I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah, it really blew up because RFK Jr., I think, was caught taking it on a flight or something, and everyone was like, what is he taking?
No way.
And then remember, so I had this post on TikTok about methylene blue, and then somebody took that post and put it on Twitter, and I woke up one morning in Colombia, and I had like people messaging me being like, you're blowing up on Twitter. And I was like, that's impossible. I don't have Twitter. And it was that methylene blue breakdown.
Yeah, I remember that now. I can't believe I forgot that, but that's crazy. Yeah, that's cool. It also looks like there have been some studies where it has inhibited tumor growth in breast cancer. Very small sample size, but that's kind of interesting. It is activated with, it can be activated with kind of, oh my God, this is kind of interesting. It's kind of like
The research is really interesting for this. Like, I think this is why it's getting so much hype. But like I said, early.
Right. It can be activated by light though, which kind of reminds me of optogenetics, which is like a form of like a neural implant that you can put in. You can stain and dye. It's not really staining and dyeing. You're changing the genetics of certain cells in your brain. And then certain light waves activate the activity of those neurons. And so you can have different like red, yellow, green, blue, all these different colors or whatever inside of a mouse's brain. And when you turn on a certain thing, a certain like a specific network or a specific set of neurons lights up and activates. So sounds similar to maybe what's happening with this. They're changing something genetically though in that. I don't know. That's interesting. That's cool. So what is there any side effects or any contradictions or anything or counter whatever that word is?
Contraindications? Yeah, I think
for methylene blue.
You want to be careful with SSRIs or monoamine oxidase inhibitors.
Which means what for the layperson?
SSRIs is antidepressant medication. So your standard antidepressant medication.
I'm doing a post soon on SSRIs and how they're actually been shown to be more effective for anxiety than depression. And this serotonin hypothesis and like the science behind some of that stuff. It's an interesting.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
MAOIs,
amine oxidase inhibitors. They block a neurotransmitter, which breaks, or so they block the action of an enzyme, which breaks down neurotransmitters like dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine. So basically methylene blue can also increase these neurotransmitters. And so if you're on an antidepressant, it can increase your risk of serotonin syndrome.
Oh shit. Okay. Well, definitely be careful with that, then. Christ almighty. Oh, that's wild. Okay, so not a magic pill, but can be super helpful for jet lag. Sounds like, especially if you're trying not to do caffeine. It's funny. Els doesn't like caffeine either. Like she struggles with it a little bit, and we just found out that there is decaf espresso, but it tastes terrible. Like it just, there's no flavor to it at all.
Well, and the thing is too, is unless you're buying high quality coffee beans, like coffee beans actually have like a lot of like mold and mycotoxins in them. So if you're just drinking like a regular decaf coffee from just basically anywhere that doesn't do like mold testing or anything like that, like you're kind of like doing more damage than good to your body. At least that's what I think. That's my opinion.
Interesting. I'll have to look into that. I've heard that, but I haven't seen it. Like how do you know? Where would you know? How would you know what beans are good? seems like one of those things a company says to get you to buy their specific beans.
Yeah, a lot of the companies like the higher end. I mean, yes and no. I'm not an expert on this by any means, but you can do mold and like toxicity testing on your coffee beans.
Interesting. Well, we might have to do a whole episode on that. That'd be
Yeah,
an
we
interesting
should do a
one.
coffee episode.
That would
Pros,
be interesting.
cons, how to drink it, what to drink it with.
I'm here for it. I'm here
Okay.
for it. All right. What about our next topic is digital psychedelics. So this is interesting. I've heard a little bit about this flicker light stimulation that you put in here, but talk to me about this.
Yeah, so this is something that's come up recently in the like psychedelic atmosphere, and I haven't personally done it, but you go under this stroboscopic light and are exposed to really, really fast blinking lights, and this can stimulate a psychedelic effect, and people are finding it really helpful for therapy.
Interesting. I've never felt a psychedelic effect. I've done this before, but I have not. It was not psychedelic in any way at all. Like it was chill and I felt calm afterwards, but it wasn't what I would consider psychedelic at all. But it's interesting. I mean, it's visual entrainment, just like binaural beats and train your brain waves to a certain frequency. It's similar, but just using light in your eyes instead of your ears.
And I think we need to really be careful of how we define psychedelic effect. I think this is just like marketing, right? Because
Right.
I would say it's a psychoactive effect. It causes a change in cognition, reduced default mode activity, relaxation, maybe you're more susceptible. And there can be some like positive adaptive brain wiring. But in terms of like a psychedelic experience where maybe you're really truly experiencing like an altered state of consciousness, I don't think binaural beats and stroboscopic lights are going to get you there.
Yeah.
If that's what you're looking
Yeah.
for. But
It's
I think they're great
interesting.
tools.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could be great tools. I don't have anything against them. I think binaural beats, at least you can be doing things while you're listening to them. It's hard while you're getting strobed to the dome, like it's not as easy to do work and stuff. But it looks like there's been some research to help that it can improve alertness, mood, and divergent thinking, mostly in rats, but in animals. And they think it might increase serotonin and cortisol levels. Have you ever tried this? Have you ever done this?
No, I haven't.
It's interesting. I wonder, who is this best for? Do you have any idea? Like, who should do this?
So I was just thinking about this, how like you would best use it in a therapeutic context. And I'm just offering my ideas without actually like knowing who's using it in a therapeutic context and how they're doing it. But I think this could be really helpful for basically reprogramming your mind, whether you're an addict, you're somebody that struggles with anxiety and depression, or just want to change your mindset on something, because it puts you into that like meditative state where you are really suggestible. So I think you can probably better access the subconscious and then rewire in new programming after you've done the stroboscopic light meditation.
I mean, if they could get you into a more open state, like a theta state or something like that, maybe that'd be interesting.
Yeah. It's basically, at least my understanding of it, is it's helping you enter a theta state.
Yeah, it looks like there's different, like 10 hertz is in the alpha range and is most reliably like creates the altered state of consciousness. 40 hertz or like gamma oscillations is associated with attention, memory, and higher cognitive functions. So it looks like there's different things. And then the other thing too, as far as therapeutic applications, Alzheimer's disease actually, there's some preclinical studies in mice that 40 hertz of this type of flicker light stimulation can reduce amyloid plaques and improve memory, which is interesting. I don't know that I believe that amyloid plaques are the root cause of Alzheimer's anymore, however, but that's interesting. And there's even some human research on exploring the potential of this type of phototherapy for neurodegenerative diseases. So
Cool.
that's
That's
cool.
really interesting.
The other thing too is optic nerve regeneration. So there's animal research that shows that a flicker light stimulation can promote optic nerve regeneration by activating the microglia in the nervous system. The microglia
that's really cool.
are, dude, that's crazy. They are like the immune cell of one of the immune cells of the nervous system. So it's kind of interesting. We talked about that with what's his name, JP, when we talked about
JP
how
Erko, yeah, that was a good episode.
Prune neural connections. Interesting. It looks like it could also be used as a performance thing, kind of like a nootropic. But again, for my opinion, when I tried it, it's like you're locked in, like got these headphones on, this whole like it's not like you be doing stuff. So I guess you could do it and then go do stuff, but I don't know. I like stuff that you can do it and be doing things while you're doing it. Interesting. I like that. Okay, that was a good one. What else we got on here? Oh, diet culture is back, but rebranded. Tell me what you mean by that.
Okay, so I have been seeing so much content on like SkinnyTok and Skinny Girl Diaries and tips on this. And so I think we went so like high into the body positivity movement. And now it's almost like having this like counter, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, this counterbalance. Excuse my girl needs a nap. This counterbalance. And I've just been seeing it all over my feed lately. And I think it's super, super controversial. And I don't know what to think of it. I think there's some influencers and creators that, you know, they do share really helpful content, but it is coming back to this glorification of being skinny. And so, yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on this and a lot of conflicting thoughts on this, you
What
know,
is it
because
called? It's SkinnyTok?
yeah, I guess like SkinnyTok or like I don't even know if that's a real name for it, but skinny culture is kind of it's coming back in, and I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
SkinnyTok. Holy crap, you're right.
Yeah,
This is wild.
yeah, and it's probably not so prevalent for you, you know, being a man.
Yeah, as I say, I haven't seen this at all. What is the base? What is their message? What is their core message?
They're basically teaching you how to be skinny. So rules and habits, like just watching this one creator being like, you know, nothing tastes as good as skinny feels, and then talking about how that's actually true, or like portion control, being like, okay, like, you know, I'm on vacation and I don't eat vacation foods. I make sure I'm really portion controlled, and like sharing information about how a lot of information about how they stay skinny and then glorifying it.
Interesting. Is this like a? I have to look more into this. Is this like a? Would you consider it like a disordered like eating type thing? Is this like
I
what?
would,
Where do you think it's going?
yeah, I would say like a mix of like there's some tips where like um you know, there's some girls I follow. I'm like, oh, that's actually really helpful. Like to me, you know, because I've struggled with like binge eating and overeating in the past, and that's actually a really helpful tip. And then there's some where it's just like, I feel like they've placed their weight and their figure as like the most important thing. And I think this could be like really toxic, especially to just like young girls that are really impressionable.
Yeah, that's interesting. I got to look at that. Have you watched some of them, or do they talk about this nuance, or do they just like skinny at all costs type of feeling? Like, what's their
Yeah,
mindset?
no, because it's just like it's kind of like they're coming as an authority figure on being skinny. They're like, I am a thought leader on how to be skinny.
Damn, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, this is I don't know. It's interesting. All you got this like Ozempic and all this stuff, or the GLP-1s that people are getting on and such. It's an interesting. I mean, a controversial a controversial perspective on this is it's like I'm about to get canceled for saying this, but there are so many people that I feel like for years have been like glorifying like big is beautiful and like all of
Yeah, yeah.
these different things, which dude, I'm an IFS guy. Like everyone has a self. I think the self is beautiful. So that's awesome. I do think that like we can look at weight as one metric of health. There's like muscle mass, there's like
Mhm.
cardiovascular health, there's cognitive health. Like there's so many different things that interconnect with this. But there have just been a lot of people I feel like that have really focused on like big and like it's okay to be big and it's okay to be overweight and different things like that. But then these GLP-1s come out and they start hopping on those and like, oh well now I'm skinny and now. So it's just kind of confusing to me. Like Lizzo is a great example. Like I think she's lost like 16% of her fat or body fat being on these GLP-1s and things. She's feeling better, looking better, feeling better. And these are her words, not mine.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. It's just interesting to see that transition. And now it's like, of course there's an extreme. Of course there's fucking skinny talk.
Right? Yeah, and I think like with anything in life, it's not black and white. Like I think some of the information that these girls are sharing is like very, very helpful. And I think diet culture is incredibly triggering to some people. And so for me, like it depends on the individual person. It's like if you're watching somebody and they're triggering you because you don't feel skinny or you don't feel good enough, like just delete it, you know? And that's been for me with Skinny Talk or other things when I see creators posting things and I'm like, oh, that just doesn't make me feel good. And I'm like, you know, I don't look like a Victoria's Secret model, but I'm like healthy. Like my biomarkers are good, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
healthy, I'm fit. And so anytime I see something that like makes me question my self-worth, I just stop following it. But
Yeah.
not everyone has that. And so yeah, it's a really controversial topic that I just wanted to put on there today because I just don't know how I feel about it.
Is this mostly women or in these? I just
Yeah,
scrolled
I
through
would
real
at
quick.
least my experience is it's like all women.
Got it. Yeah, I'm curious. I feel like guys are the complete opposite. Somewhere in the middle is probably where we need to land. It's wild too. I mean, I, I don't necessarily find, this is just my personal perspective. I don't necessarily find someone that is just like paper thin to be that attractive necessarily. I guess I'm a CrossFitter, so I'm used to seeing people who are just jacked. So
Yeah, yeah. And I think like women have more pressure in society to like look a certain way.
yeah, I can definitely understand that. I mean, I've heard that from multiple people. So it's interesting. So what should we do about this? What is your thought on how to fight back against this rebranded skinny influencer diet culture?
Well, like so many things. I think at the end of the day, it's like it should be about like your health and how you feel and not necessarily how you look. And I think like this is a massive societal problem where we're fed like and this is also trends. Like we're fed what a woman should look like, right? In magazines.
Right.
So you'll flip through a magazine in 2022 and a woman's body should look this way, and then in 2024 it'll look this way. It's like society is telling us how to look, and if you don't match that, then you're unworthy or not good enough. And so it's this like really toxic system that I don't entirely know how to combat. And
I
then
mean, I think helping people understand that your self-worth doesn't come from outside of you. It's an internal job.
yeah,
Being
and
skinny
like
is not going to make you feel more self-confidence or more worth, or if you just don't have those things, or love yourself more. If you just don't have that innately inside of you, like something external to you is not going to help.
yeah, I completely agree. Like, and I think that's maybe the way to solve that is to teach everyone that their value is innate and inherent. And I heard this quote from Peter Crone the other day that he was like, your worth doesn't change at all throughout the entirety of your life. Only you're thinking of it, like only what you think of your worth does. And so
Yeah.
it's so true. It's like we are born inherently worthy, we will die inherently worthy. And then for some reason, we question our worth along the way.
Yeah, that's 100%. That's IFS talks about that all the time. We're all born with a self that is completely worthy. We just forget along the way because of trauma and life.
And I think it's so important to, at the end of the day, like love yourself and do things from a place of love. And this has been really helpful for me on my health and wellness journey because I'll be completely honest, like I wouldn't say that I've had an eating disorder, but I've been disordered. And I've been in places in my life where I've just berated myself for how I looked. And I look back on those pictures and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I really wasn't chubby. Maybe I was a little bit inflamed, but like still very worthy of love. And I was so hard on myself. And so you can approach diet and whatever you do from a place of like fear and discipline and like, I need to be better. I'm not worthy. And you're always going to be chasing this goalpost because the worthiness needs to come from inside of you. Or you find that self-love and that worthiness and that peace and it's so powerful. And then you do things out of devotion. And I'm like, I eat healthy and I limit sugar and I go to bed because I love myself and I want to care for myself in the best possible way. And sometimes that's going to fluctuate. Some days I'm going to be bloated. There's a part of the month where I'm going to have my period and I'm going to look like crap and that's okay. And so it's just like two different energies that you're choosing from and living from.
Yeah. I like that. I think that's a good way to think about like the Lizzo stuff that I was mentioning earlier. Like it doesn't matter what you look like, you're worthy of love for sure. So it doesn't mean that you have to stay a certain way forever, and people change, people have different opinions, people have different priorities in life and things like that. It's tough. So that's a great point. I mean, I've been there as well. I mean, when I got out of college, I think I was like 80 something pounds overweight. And my dad said, you're looking kind of chubby. And the inner critic shamer inside of me caused me to lose a ton of weight in the next 6 months and get healthy. So it's interesting. To me, objectively, losing all that weight, quitting drinking, working out more, eating better, all of those things benefited me so much. And I'm so happy that it happened. Was it driven by fear, guilt, and shame? Yes, probably. Did it benefit me? In a way, yeah. So I think that's the other thing here as well, is that nothing is completely good or completely bad. I mean, there are pros and cons to both sides. And I've worked on that fear, guilt, and shame now to where I don't have those same struggles, but it's just interesting. They can be good drivers, good in air quotes, drivers, if you will, for a season. But over long term, it would eat you away.
Yeah, and I think it's also really important to have the perspective of like, you know, if what somebody says on the internet is triggering you, then it's just revealing to you what needs to be healed.
Yeah. If you got a button, you should look and see like, wait, why do I have this button? Not get mad at the person pressing it.
Yeah.
Gives you your agency back.
Yeah.
I love that. Cool. All right. Last thing I got here, our inside lab moment is just fact checking something quickly. So I saw a piece of content about this psychologist who was sharing some tips for people with anxiety. And one of the tips was cold plunging, to which I commented, that sounds like the worst idea on earth for someone who has an anxious nervous system, and proceeded to get into a large multiple thread debate with the commenters on this post. So it was just interesting. And so I was and there were some wild things people were saying, just some sweeping. They're like, well, if you look at the base science, cold plunging is actually good for you. I was like, okay, well, the base science, I study the base science. So help me understand what you mean by the base science. And then also your nervous system is different than other people's nervous systems. So if I'm talking about a stressed out, anxious, overachieving, burnt the fuck out nervous system that is redlining constantly, going into more sympathetic overdrive is not going to help it. It's much better to do a warm bath, get you in your parasympathetic state and get out of that freeze zone instead of putting you into more, and they're like, oh, well, what, the parasympathetic rebound and all that. And I was like, yeah, that's amazing. That makes so much sense if you aren't already in a sympathetic state. Right? You've got green, yellow, red as far as nervous system states. And people who are in green and go up to yellow and then back to green, cold plunge. Good. Yeah. If you're in yellow and go to red, cold plunging will push you further into red. And then when you rebound or come down and deactivate, you don't mystically jump to green. You go back through sympathetic. So you're feeling nervous, worried, anxious, scared, fear, all these crazy things. And so it's just wild that people, they would reply like, well, for me, it doesn't work that way. And I was like, okay, that your anecdotal experience doesn't apply to everyone on earth.
And men are different than women, and women have different hormonal cycles. Like, for example, right? Like in the first 2 weeks of your cycle as a woman, absolutely stress your body out a bit, right? This is when you should be working out super hard. You can fast in this time period. Cold plunging is probably better. You start entering that luteal phase. Absolutely no. It's going to stress your body out too much. And so I also think too, it's so funny. We identify so strongly with whether something is good for you or bad for you. And very often it's like, it depends is the answer.
That's just one of these guys, or guy or girl, I don't know who it was, or how they would identify, but I ended up replying, I was like, dude, you can be right about your own nervous system and your personal experience. And I can also be right about my clients and the patients and people that I work with day to day and the research that I've done about their nervous systems and stressed out nervous systems. We can both be right. It's not like a finite game here. That's the other thing that's just wild about this. So is cold plunging good?
Yeah, and that depends. And one other point on this is you can measure this, right? If you're somebody who's I don't know, measure your heart rate variability. What's it doing? Do a week of cold plunging or add it into your routine. See how your nervous system is responding, take note of how you feel. How your nervous system is responding. If you are stressed out and the idea of hopping in a cold plunge seems like your literal version of hell, that's your body and intuition telling you no. Listen to that.
Right. Yeah.
If you love it, if you were stressed out and it gives you relief and you love it, all the power to you, I think.
Objective measurement I like. The subjective one is a little bit harder because I just don't know anybody who is going to actively be like, oh yeah, let's just jump into a cold plunge. Even people who cold plunge, there's that moment where they're like, oh, I don't want to do this. If you want to do it for a physiological benefit or a psychological benefit, an emotional benefit, and you understand, get your nervous system tested, the objective measurement you described, your heart rate variability, your resting heart rate, some of these different measurements of your nervous system state.
Oh, shit. What is happening?
To objectively understand these things. Because subjectively is kind of hard. Just because you don't want to do something hard doesn't mean you shouldn't.
Yeah, and I think there's a comparison of okay, this is hard and I don't want to do this, or this is actually putting my nervous system into an unhealthy state.
Right.
Right.
That's the difference. That's the key difference. So there are lots of different ways you can figure that out. There's cortisol testing you can do. There's all sorts of sympathetic versus parasympathetic quizzes and tests and things like that. I've got one in my releasing trauma guide. DM me on any Facebook or Instagram release, and I will send you my release guide. It's free, and there's a quiz in the beginning that can tell you if you're in sympathetic overdrive or not. And if you're in sympathetic overdrive, you should not be cold plunging. You should be warm plunging. Get into a warm bath, activate your parasympathetic nervous system, do some vagal nerve stimulation.
Ooh, and some salt and some lavender.
Right.
Lavender baths. Or, if you were...
And what is it? It starts with an M. Magnesium. Yeah, especially Epsom salts. Magnesium is absorbed best through the skin. So warm bath with some magnesium, that is one of the best things you can do with an overactive nervous system. So just a quick science fact check for everyone out there. We all have unique nervous systems. I should not be doing cold plunges. I can tell you that for certain. I need to be doing a warm bath. I need to get out of my sympathetic state. So Just a heads up for everyone else. Beautiful. All right, that's all I got for us. Any final thoughts or anything else you got?
No, I think we covered it.
Beautiful. All right, well, we've got some cool stuff coming up here. We updated the interview style. We are grilling founders more and more. We've got reaction videos coming up. We've got expert interviews coming up. Neuroscientist, like the fittest man on earth, the third fittest man on earth. Like, we've got all sorts of cool stuff coming up. So make sure you follow us and subscribe. And if you guys have a topic you want us to dig into, let us know in the comments or hit us up on Instagram. We'd love hearing from y'all. Even if you just want to say hi, we're cool with that. But what is something you want us to discuss, either between Chloe and I, where we do some research on it and present our findings to you, or even better, a brand you want us to interview, a founder who you want us to interview and cut through the BS, help you understand if you should buy it or not. So that's all we got for you. Thanks for hanging with us. Stay curious, stay healthy, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.